Estimated that 4 million women are attacked each year.
She was beaten and abused by her ex-husband.
Aggravated assault, arson, child abuse.
Her boyfriend who beat her up is going to jail.
Every time we pick up a newspaper or watch the evening news, crime stories top the headlines. We see or hear about a robbery, assault, or senseless killing. Crimes that leave victims, families, and the public looking for answers. As criminal justice professionals, we do our best to ensure victims and their families are kept up to date on custody or court matters. But even with a vast amount of resources, victims may not get the information they need when they need it. Mary Byron was one of those victims, shot to death on her 21st birthday by a former boyfriend turned rapist and finally her murderer. Mary's murder raised an issue that had plagued victims and their families for years. How could people be notified in advance of an offender's release from a county jail or state facility? Mary's parents were told they would be notified, but they weren't. And within days of Donovan Harris's release, their daughter was dead. But Mary's story didn't end with her killer's conviction. In fact, her legacy had just begun. The Byrons became leading advocates for automated victim notification. Working with officials in their own community, the Byrons led a campaign that would revolutionize the way victims and their families keep track of offenders through the criminal justice system. Their work led to the development of the nation's first automated victim notification system called VINE, Victim Information and Notification Every Day. VINE provides victims, families, and the public with two important options: information and notification. Through a national communication center, VINE connects crime victims in small towns and large cities with critical offender and court information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Using VINE only takes a few minutes, but people can't use it if they don't know about it. That's why your participation is vital. Whether you are a law enforcement officer, victim advocate, or prosecutor, you have direct contact with crime victims and their families at a time when they need answers. VINE protects and empowers crime victims and gives you another tool to keep them informed.
When VINE first began, we worked with county agencies and knew that its most critical role was to be able to deliver information to victims on their terms so that they could call in anytime they liked to find out about the status of their offender and know that that information was going to be immediately sent back out to them if the status changed.
VINE allows you to call anytime from anywhere to learn the custody status of an offender. Most communities use VINE to register for and receive notification upon an offender's release from jail or prison. Some states also use it to follow up on an offender's next scheduled court date. Using VINE is a simple three-step process: information, registration, and notification. Users need only a touch-tone phone to call VINE.
Welcome to the Department of Corrections Automated Victim Notification Service.
Once VINE has been contacted, the caller will be walked through the information and registration process. During registration, the caller will be asked to provide a phone number and 4-digit personal identification number or PIN. Once registered, the caller will receive an automatic phone call when there is a change in the offender's custody or court status. Calls continue for a minimum of 24 hours or until the correct PIN is entered. The PIN confirms and stops the calls. Your VINE service may have 24-hour live operator assistance. Please refer to the fact sheet for more details about VINE in your area. Crime victims may not be in a state of mind to remember registration details. Brochures and other printed materials are available describing VINE and the steps needed to use it. VINE is also available on the internet at www.vinelink.com. Click the state you are interested in and follow the directions. With VineLink, you have the option to register for notification by telephone or email. Let's highlight some key points. VINE is anonymous. Offenders cannot determine who has registered for notification. VINE is accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with live operator assistance in most communities. VINE is constantly monitored by experts to ensure service without interruption. There are no limits to the number of calls that can be made, and people can call from anywhere at any time. There are no fees. All calls to and from Vine are free. Another key point, victims and their families need to know that offenders, even when arrested, can be out on bail in days or even hours after an arrest. Across the country, police, prosecutors, and victims have come forward in support of Vine.
Vine's an excellent resource, and it's also a great sense of comfort as a detective for your own personal cases as well as for the victims.
It eliminates so many of the other phone calls and so much of the confusion that goes into working with the criminal justice system. As an administrator, we've incorporated the Vine system and the Vine number into our procedures, our policies, our training, even the forms that we use have the Vine number on them. So it makes things much easier because it's one point of contact.
I have a victim who suffered quite a bit. She had a husband who abused her physically, and she has 4 children. And every day before she starts her day and gets her children off to school, she calls Vine. And he's in prison, and he'll be in prison for a long time. But every day she gets peace of mind from calling Vine and knowing that that perpetrator is in prison, and she can send her children safely off to school.
Mary didn't have a chance because she didn't know that her rapist was out of jail. And I think the only good thing that has come from that horrible tragedy is the fact that the Vine system has been instituted in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we'll probably never know how many murders and other crimes have been prevented.
I like to think she would be alive because we would have been given the choice of getting her protection, getting her out of state, getting her away from the whole situation.
Vine is about empowering crime victims to take control of their lives again. When you tell victims about Vine, you are serving and protecting your community. But most of all, you are giving people a chance to help themselves.